So today, at the end of the time of the testing, Hamilton was on top. So, Conley, what were the times again, starting with Hamilton? 116 point what?
Yes, Hamilton was quite quick. He got in at the 116.318. Lando Norris was 116.594. And Leclerc also got in at the 116.653. Sodium Piastri that was outside the 116, the 117.
And Verstappen was 119 something back here.
Yes, Verstappen was, he was 117 as well.
Oh, 117 in the morning, yeah.
Yeah, 117. Okay. Even Ocon, I think they all dropped from there to 117s to 119s.
I don't think Red Bull was going to be able to push it to those 116s because people are saying they're having problems with heating in their engine. That's the rumor. So that car, the Red Bull engine may not be super reliable. Other than that, we can't really go by times. We know that Antonelli the other day had 116 point something. Russell had 116 point something. So all of these guys are converging in time. Time doesn't mean anything. We don't know what type of tires, what type of fuel loads. The main thing we can get from this whole weekend is the reliability. And we know that Mercedes is absolutely the most reliable car right out here, and they should have an advantage. We're not saying, I'm going to take back my words of saying they should win this year, but we definitely know that right now they're ahead of everybody with data. So that's an advantage they have. But as far as I'm concerned, we're still in the dark as to what's going to happen during the season. We know once again, Aston Martin not looking too good, but they look better. At least Alonso was able to get some mileage and get some laps and get a 120, which is a lot better than a 146, and the engine didn't slow down. Roman, what was how many laps did Alonso get today?
He did 61 laps.
Yeah, so that's okay. So yesterday I was writing off these guys, Aston Martin. Aston Martin's not in terrible shape, but they're going to be behind. They're going to not first 6 races of the year. I don't see them being in the top 5 or top 6. The aero looks fantastic. I don't know if they can. If it looks like that whole car looks like it defies all the rules for this year, because that car looks like it can get downforce the way ground effects cars could, but even with more stability. Hey, Roman, did you notice that on their car they have lateral design going outwards, and also it still has that what's it called, peak? No, what they call it again? When the cars go in the front, when it's shaped like a triangle.
You mean indexes?
No, when the car when the tail is a little bit higher than the front. I forgot the word. The rake. The car has rake. It has ladder. It looks like it's balanced like McLaren cars for lateral balance and everything. So it looks like it looks like it could have good ride quality and at the same time good downforce, the type of downforce which doesn't give you drag. Looked by the structure, and they said he might have something like a double floor also. Did you see the car? What do you think?
I mean, it reminded me of the early 2010 Red Bulls, which was also designed by AG Newey.
Yeah,
there's many classic AG Newey designs, like the engine cover for the air intake, the front wing outwash, and the rears, how they flow into the diffuser. It's very AG Newey design-esque.
Yeah, and you're going outwash when most people are going inwash, right? So that's an interesting. But I looked at the car. That car looks like it could not only have downforce and function like a car that's low to the ground, but it could also have stability. And at the same time, it's not too pointy in the front, because I don't think that's going to help. But in other words, it looks like that car, if they can get the engine integrated, that car is going to be fantastic. And when you get into the deployment for what is basically DRS, all that Z and X or whatever, that's DRS. It's going to have a lot more downforce or a lot more boost than other teams. But the question is, can they catch up with engine? We'll talk about that later. But going back to everything that we saw this week, Mercedes had tons and tons of lap time. Give us a breakdown on that, Roman, about just how many laps they got, how many kilometers, and how much data these guys are going to have now for their engine. Yeah.
But to put it into plain words, Mercedes put over 1,134 laps in total. To give you a bit of a perspective on how big it is, the Barcelona track is 4 kilometers and 500 meters, around approximately. If you multiply that, you get the basically amount of kilometers is basically to cover entire United States. And the entire United States is 4,634. And Mercedes did about 5,281 kilometers worth of testing. So
without any Is that for their car or for all of the engines together?
All of the engine, as an engine supplier, as an engine supplier.
Did any of those cars have any breakdowns or anything?
Except for Alpine and A1, I don't see any.
Yeah, so that basically means they went from here to the United States at high speed without any reliability problems. That's scary.
Another way to put it is that they did 15 races because each race is 300 kilometers, give or take, and 1 lap. So they did 15 races worth of kilometer, 15 races worth of mileage.
That says it all. What do you think, Kunle? That just says it all. What do you think, Kunle? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just says it all for the testing today. I think I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to go on after the testing today. I'm quite happy with Hamilton. I think I'm being Hamilton. I've got tinted sunglasses today, red tinted sunglasses.
Let me tell you, here's the thing. Hamilton will not drive poorly this year. The question is he going to win a championship or win 3 races? Because this is going to be a competitive year. So nobody's saying he's going to, and his time today was a good sign, but he needs to be consistent with that because we know that he can have mental lapses. Leclerc can too. These guys make lapses. Leclerc tends to push it hard and one time make a cheeky error in here. Hamilton is locked out twice this weekend. So I don't think he's going to have a shitty year, but the question is it might be too late. Because if Mercedes and McLaren are so far ahead of everybody, then it'll just be Hamilton will just do okay. What do you think, Kunle? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hamilton will get okay and try to accomplish the basic things he needs to do, get 1 or 2 races behind him, win 1 or 2 podiums. I think he should be all right. I think that this season, McLaren and Mercedes, the clash between McLaren and Mercedes, I think it's going to be ruined a bit by Red Bull. I think Red Bull are going to spoil that.
We'll see what happens with Red Bull. Red Bull has a few issues of reliability that they're trying to cover up from what I hear. Maybe we can find out from Roman about that. I'll get back to you. Oh, Kunle, do you have anything else to say?
Well, I mean, it's been quite interesting looking at how the Alpines have still managed to try to stay relevant in the standings. I mean, they've not done too badly today. I don't know.
They're okay.
I think they need to pick it up. Bringing up the best of the rest, I think that they're not doing too badly. I don't think they're going to mix it up with the top 3 teams.
160 laps, though. Gasly did 160 laps.
That's good. And also, we have to remember something. Williams has a good advantage because this was more about engine stuff. So Williams can figure out their aero, figure out their chassis, get it to the right weight, and everything and pass all these crash tests. They still have the same data going to be shared from Mercedes. So things aren't too bad for Williams because as long as they can get their chassis right, then they have data for and their engine we know will be okay. I don't think they have problems with integration. What do you think, Roman? Yeah.
I have a doubt on the chassis part for Williams, but recently, more than the chassis, I'm worried about the stability and how much reinforcement they had to do for the front wing and the body itself, because they kept crashing and they kept failing the tests. One way to put this is that they're trying to. It's very possible. It's very possible. What Williams are trying to do is that they were trying to get away with as much as weight cutting as possible. Because of that, pushing it, because don't forget, the more time you have, the more data you can collect. So it's like, okay, in the simulation, they can kind of take out some carbon fiber there, take out some carbon fiber here, there, and whatnot to save weight. For Williams, it can be perfectly safe. But what for FIA did, I think it was kind of last moment, honestly, is that they reinforced the front wing because of the actuators. So because of that, Williams got a sudden shock and they didn't prepare for this, and they suddenly failed all the tests. If they didn't fail the test, they would have been the shakedown and collecting valuable chassis data, but they didn't. But that's that. Yeah. But another thing I like to find out is that if Williams did come on the shakedown, Mercedes' advantage would have even doubled, because don't forget, there'll be more Mercedes supplier customers. There'll be Mercedes themselves, there'll be McLaren, there'll be Alpine and Williams. 4 teams will be collecting engine data for Mercedes. In total, they collected 100,000 plus laps. Imagine if Williams was there, I think that would have been 1,500.
Here's what I think. It would have been a waste of Williams' resources because they would have been too heavy, and even the data that Mercedes would have got wouldn't have been useful because it was for a car that's heavier. It's not going to be applicable. Do you see what I'm saying? So might as well save their money.
It's for the engine, though. It's just the engine. More stress, the better.
Even though it's for the engine, even if it's for the engine is still going to be, the data is not just the engine alone. It's in it has to be taken within the context of the weight and the chassis itself. So that data is not going to help them because it's in a context which is not going to be relevant in race situations. Do you see what I'm saying? For example, if you took a Mercedes engine and put it in a Toyota Corolla, it's getting data, but it's not relevant for racing. You see what I'm saying? So the chassis of the Williams may be absolutely irrelevant right now because it's not the specs that it's supposed to be, even though it may be legal now. It's for, you understand what I'm saying? It's not going to help Mercedes. So they have to do a cost benefit because a lot of that data they'll have to throw away because I don't think Williams can compete with their chassis as it is now because now it's heavy because they had to reinforce it so it doesn't fail tests. You see what I'm saying? What do you think, Kunle? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they're going to have to get ahead on the testing, and let's see what comes up.
Yeah, but you know what I'm trying to say, Kunle, that there's no point testing the engine in a chassis that's not relevant for the season. You get my point? Because right now I don't think
exactly.
chassis. Yeah.
You want to put the engine.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, they're experimenting, and experimenting, as we've seen with Aston Martin, never ends well.
It
always ends
I think
up
Aston Martin, they needed to come out here. But I'm thinking, even though Mercedes may have got some benefits of having Williams there, the cost benefit for Williams to come all the way out here when they have limited resources, they're better focusing their resources right now on getting their chassis correct. What do you think, Roman? Yeah.
I mean, that's the same debate we kind of had day before yesterday on day 2 when we discussed about why Williams was a disappointment. It's not about cost-benefit allowances. This track shakedown in the Barcelona is very important because it tests every feature of your car, including loads and engine thing. That's why I said that they may not be relevant and data may not be useful, but it can probably stress your entire workflow. It can stress communication between engineers and drivers. It can stress the car itself. You get tire data. Don't forget, engine data might not be that much valuable, but tire data cannot change. Tire data is very important.
I could agree that it stresses between engineers. But if the chassis is not right and the weight is too much compared to what they have in the season, then all those things like tire and all that become irrelevant and you can just throw the data away. That's what I'm trying to say. So, and also Williams doesn't have infinite resources like, it's not just about cost cap. Even outside of cost cap, Mercedes team and Alpine have more resources. What I mean by resources, engineers, people, things like that. So I think that right now it might have been a waste. I'm not going to say it. I'll just leave it open to debate, but what I'm arguing is that they were so messed up by failing 3 weight tests that maybe it was a waste of time for them to even come here because of that.
Another thing to be noted is that tire data cannot be shared between engine manufacturers. So only engine data can be shared, not the tire information.
I agree, but here's the problem. The tire data wouldn't be relevant because it's going to be in the context of what chassis they bring there, which is not going to be anywhere near the chassis that they're going to use even in Bahrain. You know,
this is where I have to come with a disagreement with you. Is that tires don't change though? Because Pirelli, they said that this is final iteration. We're not going to change the tire.
Oh yeah, but the tires will function differently based on the suspension and the weight of the car and all of those things. So the way that
not necessarily the way that Pirelli works.
Well, let me give you an example. McLaren has more grip than everybody else, but they're all using the same tires. So it's because of McLaren's mechanical grip is more things like that, and that's going to affect the wear of the tire. If Williams is putting something that doesn't have the type of mechanical mechanisms and suspension that it has, then whatever data they get from the tires is going to be useless because it's not going to correspond to when they get their chassis the way it's supposed to be and the suspension.
Here's a counter to that. Here's a small counter to that. In 2025 Qatar Grand Prix, Verstappen was not able to get the Red Bull in the working range, and he was not able to get pole time. But what he did was that in the soft tire, he ran that tire for 2 laps. So he did 2 prep laps before pushing, and that was able to extract a lot of speed from the Pirelli tire. So you see my point. Is that
but that was the chassis that he was going to be using all season. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what I'm trying to tell you is that Red Bull had the tire information on their C4 tire very much more better than any other team. Because they had information on C4 tire, they knew what would tick and what make it work much better. Don't forget, the Williams, McLaren, Ferrari, they were not able to get the soft tire working properly. It was crumbling much more faster. Only Red Bull was the only team which was able to get the soft tire in the working range properly.
They were able to test those things though with their given chassis. Williams doesn't even have right now the chassis.
Chassis is a chassis. I agree with you that they may not be relevant. But
not
for
only that,
stretching
the
the tire,
suspension and everything, the suspension, the components, everything, they're going to have to get it right. I mean, I don't think. Yeah, we can move on because we can disagree on that.
we'll move on.
But to me, it's still a dodgy situation. They have a big issue. This is a catastrophe for Williams. But let's go to Roman. What do you think about Mercedes? There's rumors that they may have some problems with overheating and stuff like that. But whatever those problems are, they must be subtle. So maybe they're staying within their means right now. What do you think? Yeah. They're not pushing it as hard as they could because they still have some problems with the engine, which is acceptable because this is their first year. They're manufacturers for the first time. What do you think? Yeah. Have you heard those stories? Yeah.
There are always issues with cooling. As long as I remember watching Mercedes in the sport, they always had cooling issues with their engine. They always.
I'm talking about Red Bull, not Mercedes. Yeah.
Oh, you said Mercedes. I was thinking Mercedes.
What I'm saying is that there are rumors that the Red Bull engine
for the Red Bull one
is having performance issues. Not performance, but is having reliability issues. That's what I heard yesterday. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's reliability issues. I think more than anything, Red Bull has been got a bit flustered because the energy deployment is much more faster than they expected. That was Lauren McKees was saying. So it was a deployment concern more than reliability because don't forget, Verstappen did today 118 laps and Hajar, the last 2 days he ran, he also did more than 100 laps each day. So in terms of reliability, I don't see any issues.
But you notice that Verstappen was 3 seconds behind everybody else, and I don't think that's because of the pace of the car. Maybe he wasn't.
Yeah, but he was on the hard tire. He was on the hard tire.
And those guys were on the soft. Yeah. The other day, yesterday, you were like, we can't rely on what people say about hard and soft. But today you're saying Mercedes Red Bull got soft. You know that for a fact.
Yeah. For me, the issue was that Leclerc had a hard tire.
I know.
Leclerc was on hard, faster than Verstappen on soft. I was confused.
I'm giving you a hard time because yesterday you were doubting how do we really know Mercedes was on the soft? So I'm arguing, how do you really know that Red Bull was on the hard today? Because you were saying that we don't.
Because they said it themselves. Post briefing, hard tire only.
Yeah, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. But yeah, so if that's the case, then maybe that's what it is. So, and also they were doing long run tests. Mercedes was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, not Mercedes. Red Bull was doing long run tests. What are your thoughts, Kunle? Yeah. Kunle, are you there?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah. You must have been smoking a blunt.
You look at what's going on. No, I've been trying to keep up with you guys. You've been going quite hard and fast on these problems that the Williams car has been having. And I think it's too early. I think that Williams will be able to work their way through these issues. I just think that it's still very early. There's so many things that can go wrong for so many teams right now.
Oh yeah.
I can't really make a full. I don't have enough data from all the other teams quite yet to give a final definitive decision on how Williams are going to fare this season. I still think that they have a higher ceiling that they can achieve, given how well they did when they finished last season. I think they just need to solidify. I think they need to improve that. They need to solidify with their engineering team. I think they need to catch up there.
Yeah, to be honest with you, nobody knows. The only thing I can take away from this, I can't even take away who has the most straight line speed. It's going to be a Mercedes car. So most likely Mercedes will have more straight line speed than McLaren because McLaren doesn't focus on. They don't focus on straight line speed. What they focus on is all around balance and traction.
I think Ferrari will actually have it for straight line speed.
Yeah, and they may have less stability. They may have less stability.
Yeah.
So if you ask me to make a guess, I would say that Ferrari and McLaren and Mercedes right now. Mercedes is number 1, McLaren is number 2, 3, and it's only because of theory. Like you said, this is just engine, but we know that Mercedes most likely, and if you look at the shape of the Mercedes car, it's more pointy and is made for straight line speed. And they probably have their engine better integrated because they have it first and they give it to McLaren. So they'll have a lot of straight line speed, and cornering yet is not going to be relevant because we're now in an engine dominated era. So I'm going to give a slight advantage to Mercedes. And on top of that, Mercedes has a whole trip from the U.S. They have 15 races reliability with very little error. So I'll give them an advantage just based on the fact that they probably have the most powerful engine and is better integrated than McLaren. But McLaren probably will still be more versatile from track to track because their car is built laterally to deal with chicanes, bumps, and be stable. Third, Ferrari, and fourth, Mercedes, Red Bull. And the reason I'm saying Red Bull is because Red Bull may still have a problem with deployment. What do you think, Roman? Yeah. About that, or how would you rank teams based? And we're saying that with a grain of salt because we don't really know. But if you were going to say top four in order right now, what would you say? Yeah.
At the moment, it's undeniable that Mercedes will be the number one in theory.
Yeah.
Second place, then this is my hot take. I think it'll be McLaren as well. But there's a contention for that. Ferrari has proven much more operational reliability than McLaren so far, which has been most interesting to me. So my reserves are for Ferrari and McLaren, but at the moment I put in McLaren and Ferrari.
So explain about the operational thing. Okay, sorry, I'll get you explain.
Third place is Red Bull. Put it simply, Verstappen is a creature.
You mean fourth place? You mean fourth place because you put Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren.
All three of them are very close. Well, all three are very close. So that means
that fourth place is Red Bull behind those three cars. Go ahead, yeah.
For now, yeah, sure, I can agree on that. But there's a massive but in this, and there's a lot of things I have to consider. Is that Ferrari has proven operational reliability, and Haas, especially, surprisingly, has done a lot more for Ferrari than Cadillac has. Because they're the second team who has, for Ferrari at least, have done so much mileage. But interesting thing is that the Haas car seems to be much more faster on the straights than any other car. Because someone did a testing, because fun fact, there's a helicopter going on. Some fan rented a helicopter, flew over the track to time the cars. And the Haas car was much more faster than any other race car at the moment when they're testing it. Yeah. So I was interested in that. Is that
Roman, even in 2024 and 2025, Haas tended to have more straight line speed than McLaren and other teams. But the problem is they're not good. Oh, in 24, they were in a lot of races, they would be second or first with straight line speed, but their cornering was slow. So maybe that's yeah. Oh yeah, in 2024, Haas had more straight line speed than McLaren, and also 2023. Sometimes Red Bull goes, and also Mercedes and Ferrari would have a lot of straight line speed in 2024. But the problem is that they had straight line speed, but the problem is that McLaren would make up all the time on the corners and on tire day. But yeah, I'll send you the research on that. Haas has been known for straight line speed, especially in 2024. I can't speak for 2025 because they sort of disappeared in 2025. But in 2024, when they would do the test, what they call it, the speed trap, Haas would be a kilometer or two faster than a lot of people, but they would lose like 0.3 of a second on the corners, which means that there was an imbalance between their error. They built up their car for a lot of straight line speed, but they had basically very low downforce. Haas car had very
An interesting thing to add to your point is the speed trap. I remember 2025. Pierre Vacher, who's Red Bull's technical officer who deals with aerodynamics, he was saying that after the Italian Grand Prix, where Max set the fastest ever time and speed in the Monza Straight, he said that at the moment we are struggling with aerodynamics, but we see a future where we can develop a car which is very good in the straight line speed, and that they proved it. Red Bull, surprisingly, they were good before. They were good at the corners, right? That's why we knew them for corner speed exit. Now, suddenly, they became straight line kings. They stole that title from Williams, became straight line kings. And I think the Red Bull car now, seeing that Lauren Mackey was saying that the deployment was running much more faster than they thought, they might get the straight line advantage again this season.
We know that when they were getting it last year is because Max was clipping the front wings and taking off the wings, and only he could drive that car because it lacked stability, but he was able to balance it. That's why he did well in Monza and in Suzuka. He basically said, fucking cut this whole thing off. And in Monza, they told him, you can't cut this front wing because you won't be able to drive it because of the balance.
He said, watch me do it. He said, watch me do it.
That may work because they might just use a radical and take away the front wing. They might do that, but only Verstappen could run away with
But this
that.
this season, I'm confident though. This season, I'm confident. My only reason is that their design philosophy has gotten shifted to the rear a bit. So the rear stability has become much more important because it is crucial that these engines, they kick you like a hell, right? They kick you harder than any torque engine there is. So they focus more on the rear side this time. So don't forget, Hajar has been competitive. When have you seen Hajar competitive in a Red Bull car? So he was being competitive.
Hajar is also someone who can drive a pointy, unstable car out of anybody else in that team. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would say Red Bull has a very good strict advantage if they can optimize their car.
Look, I still believe Verstappen can win the driver's title. I'm just saying going by right now, because we have to remember, and I also believe that Mercedes has not much room for improvement. So they're like the tortoise versus the hare. Other teams are going to catch up with them. I even believe that even if Mercedes wins this year, by year 2 or year 3, Aston Martin, McLaren, and Red Bull will be above them. What do you think, Kunle, before we get out of here? We're starting to get into some high-tech shit here, man.
Actually, after Kunle, let's speak about Aston.
I'll come back to you after Kunle. Go ahead, Kunle.
I'm going to put the Mercedes. Mercedes are going to be first. I think the Red Bulls are going to intercept the McLaren. It should be McLaren second, but I think the Red Bulls are going to actually intercept McLaren into second place.
I think Red Bull has a better driver combo than McLaren. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, and I think Ferrari as well are going to intercept the McLaren. To a lesser extent, McLaren should be second, but I think the Red Bulls and the Mercedes and the Ferraris are going to chomp into that McLaren this season. It's going to be quite messy there. I think Mercedes might just have a clean pass this season if Simon's not taken.
Yeah, but I think Mercedes is ahead of everybody. And once again, Toto Wolff is dirty, man.
Yeah, Mercedes seems to be clean ahead of everybody. And then they also have that race management advantage. They have advantages that we haven't yet seen that they have on the racetrack that is yet to also add to what they've already got here. But Red Bull also have that street smarts when it comes to race strategy that's also very effective. I think the Red Bull's racecraft is such that it will take them ahead of McLaren. I think McLaren's racecraft will still struggle again this season like they did last season.
Yeah, I think that we all have to say that season 1 of this thing is a reboot, but I agree with what you're saying, but definitely I don't see Mercedes moving. I've looked at Mercedes development. They don't have any lateral. Their car has less things like, I don't know what they call those things that go sideways looks like bike spokes. They don't have any of that in their design at all. So I think they might just be able to come out of the box because they have a lot of basically these regs were tailored for Toto Wolff. Basically, he lobbied for these regs, and he's going to have an advantage like Ben Johnson at the start. But even by the end of this year, whatever advantage Mercedes have, you'll start to see teams catching them. Anyway, what were the last things you were going to say, Roman, before we get out of here?
And also the Honda and for Aston Martin. I think there's a reason why Aston Martin delayed it so much and they came so late to the track. It turns out they were one of the other teams alongside Williams who failed their first crash test alongside with Williams. So this explains actually a lot of things, that why Aston Martin was so late and why they played it so cautiously and why such brand new parts were on the Aston. Because everyone else, they were using mule cars or practice dummy cars and experimental wings. No one was using finalized prototypes like Aston was. And it makes sense now why they did that. Because the car failed, the first crash. They failed it. And AJ Newey, I think he got cold feet. So he said, okay, screw it. We're building the final one immediately. So we don't miss the track. And that's why they got so late.
I don't blame him. Kool-Aid, did you see that car? That fucking shit looks like the Batmobile, man. I don't blame him. You saw I showed you that car, right? That shit is crazy. Yeah. I can even forgive him for failing because that guy is like Picasso. And when you look at that car, you can tell that if they get that engine right and everything, that car is going to have aerodynamics even beyond what Red Bull had back in their heyday. You get my point?
But the only thing that Tosi Pratt will draw is cool.
Oh yeah, that car was fucking crazy. You mean Tire Loco? That shit was crazy.
Tire Loco.
So I don't blame Aston Martin for failing because what this guy is doing. There's only one word for what Adrian Newey is doing. Is avant-garde. This guy is pushing this shit. Just like that street car he made. What was that car he designed for Red Bull? Roman, the one
RB17.
Yeah,
You gotta be 7.
that's crazy, man. Let's leave him alone. He's crazy. Okay, any last things you want to say, Roman, before we get out of here, man? We're done, man. Good show, also. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as the pecking order goes on, Mercedes definitely has the advantage. But the real question for Mercedes is how will they do in-season development? That is where they have struggled all of these ground effect regulations. How good will they do in-season development is the main question that we all must
and
ask.
I think that's where I don't think they have a lot of room for. I think the Red Bulls and the Aston Martins will have more of in-season development. Also, I don't think McLaren is going to have much either, because those teams are a little bit more scientific and grounded. They don't have a lot of room, but we'll see. All right, Kool-Aid, take us out, man.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting day of international motorsports where finally Lewis Hamilton has managed to have the run of the grid, although insignificantly, according to many, as we continue to see the whopping Mercedes getting ready to dominate. And so from myself, I'm Mustafa and Roman. We bid you goodbye, farewell, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, so Kool-Aid, do you want to do this thing today or early tomorrow? The politics. Yeah.